This is Jack Martin with InsureMark. I want to thank you all for joining us today. We've got a great program with Matt Halloran talking to us about communication secrets to engaging and retaining clients. So with respect to today's webinar, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. First, this is being recorded. And at in your inbox tomorrow, you'll get an email from us and it'll have a replay link. So it is being recorded. Second thing is, if you'll look on the box, the GoToWebinar box on the right-hand side, you'll see an area that says questions. If you've got questions about the subject, feel free to type those in, and we'll get to as many of them as we can before we sign off today. Third, if there's an issue with your sound, if it doesn't sound right, if it's clipping or it's too low, and you're listening on your computer speakers, then you might want to mute that and dial in by telephone to get better sound quality. That's typically resolved that. And I want to remind you that we do have a short 3-question exit survey from the webinar. So if you don't mind just completing that on your way out, that'll really help us in terms of future content and building programs that make sense to you. So our agenda today is very, very short and sweet. We're going to answer a question: what is an ADO? We're going to talk with Matt about communication secrets, and then we're going to talk with you about this concept of driving more alpha. So I think we would all agree that this market space we're in, whether you're looking at it through the DOL lens, through the tax reform lens, through the market volatility lens, is almost a vortex. And I don't think it's an overestimate that if we don't all evolve, there might not be a place for us in the next few years. And so as InsureMark over the last 3 decades has evolved, we long ago stopped being just a distributor of market-leading annuity and life products. Instead, we are now sharply focused on our advisor clients. They are counting on us in a strategic partnership to help them grow and more successful businesses. And so earlier this year, we announced a new identity for ourselves, which reflects this commitment that we've made to our advisor clients. And we are now known as the first and only advisor development organization in the business today. And so with this groundbreaking and exclusive ADO, this new identity is really just the next step in this 35-year history of ours, where we've aligned the financial advisor with the best of breed resources, services from a dedicated professional team, from our product partners to our technology vendors to practice management leaders and business development systems. And so all of those pieces come together under the umbrella of our advisor development organization. Steve Kearns, our founder, puts it this way. He says, ADO reflects our DNA, mindset, and the way we serve our clients. And really, in today's business, we are 100% focused on helping you manage this change that we're all being swept into and to enhance your lifestyle and the value of your business. And that's what we call driving business alpha. So that's the end of the short commercial. This is a business alpha webinar that we're doing today, and typically we do these to kind of stretch your thinking. And so today we've asked Matt Halloran to come talk with us about a really innovative and effective new tool that successful advisors across the country are using. Matt's, as many of you know, is an industry thought leader. He's been an advisor coach. He's the co-founder of Top Advisor Marketing and the co-author of the Social Media Guide for Financial Advisors. So, Matt, I want to welcome you to the Business Alpha webinar series, and I'm going to turn the screen over to you and let you drive the bus now.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much for having me today, Jack. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you all for attending. I do know that it is spring break, so I'm hoping that, and I'm very grateful for those of you who are taking some time out to spend time with us today. All right. Today is a paradigm shift, is my goal. My goal is to make it so that you all have an opportunity to start looking at your own skills and talents a little bit differently and how you can use your own skills and talents to engage and retain not just your existing clients, but also start retaining clients after clients pass away. And we will spend just a little bit of time talking about that. But my agenda doesn't have too many points here, just a big picture 6, the communication and client retention. Really what happy referrals are, the price of canned content, what you categorize yourself as, social media, the monster that nobody should be running after, and then my $10,000 idea, which I'll talk to you about in just a few minutes. A quick plug, find us on LinkedIn. Anybody at Top Advisor Marketing, Kirk Lowe, myself, or any of our team, we put out content all the time pertaining to the topic I'm going to talk about today. And it gives you a good opportunity to just kind of keep up to date on what the top marketing and branding and communication trends are in our industry. And also, I'm going to talk today a lot about podcasting, and I'm going to be making references to specific podcasts that we have done on Top Advisor Marketing. So if you have not subscribed yet, I highly recommend that you do. All you have to do is type in Top Advisor Marketing on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere, Podbean, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and we're on every one of those. And you can look up these podcasts that I'm going to refer to. Communication and client retention. So the funny thing is so many of us think that just because we talk all day long, we're very good at communication, and that's just not the case. You have to practice. You have to find different techniques. Old school insurance people know this better than anybody. In fact, I have this great book sitting on my desk right now. It's called Creative Selling by Feldman. This book was published in the 70s. It's in really, really bad shape. And Ben Feldman is his name, the world's greatest insurance agent. And the whole book is about communication. Now, mind you, it's sales communication, but it's communication nonetheless. If you are not communicating to both sexes in every single solitary meeting, 90% of the women involved in your relationships with your existing client base will leave you. And we all know that over 90% of women, or 90% of people, women, are the recipients of life insurance benefits. And so you're going from, great deep relationships to losing huge opportunity later down the road. We have two podcasts that Kirk Lowe and I interviewed a couple of wonderful people, Andrew Saxa and Luca Cree, talking about what are the major communication points to building multi-generational relationships. So you guys should check out episode 53. And then Judy Parati and Paulette Fillion are actually experts in women communication in the advisor space. We had a great podcast with them on number 58, where they broke down all of the issues that financial services professionals, men specifically, have when communicating to women, and how communicating to women these complex ideas, or even not so complex ideas, you have to do it in a very different way. And if you don't, you're going to really miss the boat, and you're not going to keep the retention levels that you really want to. You have to create engaging content. And what does that mean? Engaging content always has to have this one acronym always in mind. And that acronym is WIFM. What's in it for me? Every time you put a piece of client communication together, you have to look at it from the client, the recipient of that communication. What do they want to hear? What do they believe, and what do they want you to say to get their attention? If you always keep that with them in mind, you're going to have greater engaging content, and it can't be highly technical, jargon-based, acronym-focused content. It needs to be everyday, run-of-the-mill, normal people communication. We live in our own little pods, and I've written many, many articles about how we as financial services professionals are on an island. We go home and we go to our office and we see the same people and we do the same phone calls and we do the same thing every day. We get so ingrained in what our day-to-day is, it's very, very difficult for us to get out of that. And sometimes we're really affected with that.
Hey, when Matt, did you want to share your poll?
Absolutely. Where is that?
Right there. Do you think a niche market is necessary to increase the value of your business or your marketing efforts? So these polls are anonymous. Everyone's vote counts. If you'll jump on real quickly and let us know what you think, we'll share the results of this poll as soon as it wraps up. So do you think that you need a niche market to increase the value of your business and your marketing efforts? Yes, no, maybe. What do you think? Let's go, folks. Just a couple more to vote. All right. Excellent. Thank you. So let's shut this down. And
hey, Jack, you didn't let me vote, man.
Well, that's because you're a presenter.
I might skew the results. I understand.
So here you go, Matt. 75% say yes, 10% say no, 15% say maybe. We've got a pretty smart audience today.
Yeah, you know what? And I want to thank everybody for that realization. For so many years, I have fought financial services professionals because they think that a niche is actually, or a niche is going to reduce their market share. And what we found is it doesn't at all. In fact, I'm going to tell you a quick story. I've got an old advisor that I used to coach and consult in my old life. And he specifically works with this very specific kind of nurse. I'm going to make it up so that it's a nurse anesthetist, which is actually not what he focuses on because I don't want to steal his thunder. But he speaks at that conference every year. He is known as that guy. How flippin' awesome is that, right? If you could be that guy, who do you absolutely love to work with? Who do you make a huge difference in when you work with? Maybe it's engineers. Maybe you love working with architects, or maybe you love working with people who work in lumber mills. All you need to have is that focus, because that's going to change how your communication is with all of those people. Now, here's the funny thing. It's not about performance, and I cannot stress that enough. So much market communication out there, and you are contributing to it with your weekly market commentaries and some of those other pieces that are really focused on performance, you know, the play-by-play with the Dow and the S&P. But when you get a niche, you find very quickly that your communication changes, because you're going to be talking about the niche and the lifestyle of that niche, what they do, what they need from somebody like you, instead of always talking about performance. In fact, Jay Moreland, who's a behavioral expert and also a financial advisor, still runs a very successful book of business. We did a great podcast on the cycle of investor emotions and how our communication changes the way that all of our meetings go. Because if I'm sending you a weekly market commentary every single solitary week, and then we come in for an annual review and all you want to do is talk about the market, that's my fault as the communicator. Because guess what? I've been talking in your eyes about the market the whole time. Now, you have to have market-driven information. I'm never going to say you shouldn't talk about that, but it should be a much less piece of communication. You shouldn't use it as frequently as you do now. I understand that broker-dealers and organizations want you to put that stuff out because it's pre-approved. It's very simple for you from a compliance standpoint, but take the risk of finding a good niche. Take a risk of finding what they need and use that for your communication. Hold on one second. All right. So canned content. We know that everybody uses canned content. And there are a lot of articles out there, and I'm even guilty of being a little extreme when it comes to canned content, because I would love for everybody on this call to do their best to create their own organic content, but I know you can't do that all the time. I want each of you to consider a very, very simple Pareto principle, that 20% of your content should be canned, 80% of your content should be created by you, or specifically relating to your niche or what makes you unique and different. I've got an advisor in the greater DC area who has created this whole branded program working with a very specific level of government employee. And everything he talks about is about this specific level of government employee. And he works generally in aerospace, surprisingly enough. He's built a $3.1 million GDC business off of it. So he's very, very successful. And he does use canned content. He uses canned content not just from his broker-dealer, but he uses canned content from other places to accentuate his and his team's thought leadership. That's just what I want you to consider here, because if you use too much canned content, it does hurt you from an SEO perspective. We at Top Advisor Marketing have a saying with our team. It's called pleasing the algorithm. And our whole goal is to make sure that we're doing the right things to please LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Google Analytics algorithms. What we found is when you're just repurposing content and you're not making comments about that content, it doesn't really help you. In fact, you get buried into the algorithm. It goes way, way, way deep, and you're not going to show up on people's pages and feeds and things like that. But if you do use programs like Peter Montoya's program, and I've been a fan of Peter Montoya for many, many years, he's got unbelievable amounts of content, and most of it is pre-approved, if not all of it. If you can just get a couple of lines that you can add to those pieces, it changes the algorithm because it will notice that you are putting something on top of the canned content. So just something to keep in mind. You can use it, but a good mix, that 80-20 mix, is the way to go. Now, Sonia Dreisler, if you aren't familiar with her, she does socially responsible investing. She speaks all over the United States and North America about it. Her podcast about 5 things that clients actually care about really has nothing to do with the markets. It has more to do with what you want to be when you grow up, what your heart's telling you, what you want to do in retirement. That's a great podcast, episode number 52. I highly recommend that you take a look at that.
Hey, Matt,
Yep.
It's poll time.
Poll time.
Poll time. All right, let's pop this up. How do you communicate with your clients today? How do you communicate with your clients today? Check all that apply. Email, phone, text, social media, and newsletters. What kinds of tools are you using today to communicate with your clients? Email, phone, text, social media, newsletters. If you joined us late, these are anonymous. We share the results. They're kind of enlightening, so please jump on. Your vote counts. Email, phone, text, social media, or newsletters. All right, cool. Thank you guys for jumping on so quickly. There you go, Matt. 100% using email, phone, a little bit of text, a little bit of social media, a good amount of newsletters. I think that's pretty typical. What do you think?
Yeah, that's right along the lines of what we normally see. I'm actually surprised 37% of people are able to text their clients. They must have some sort of archiving program for that, because we've seen personally, if you can text people, everybody, dear God, do it, because we know that people respond within, it's insane. It's like 30 seconds from getting a text, where email could be 24 to 48 hours. Phone, if you leave a voicemail, they might not get it until the end of the day. Texting is the fastest way to communicate important things to clients. But it doesn't surprise me that only 37% of people are saying that they're actively involved in social media, and we're gonna talk about a good way to solve that here in just a minute. So great poll. Please keep reminding me when those polls come up, because I like that feature. So there are 3 major ways that you can take back the spotlight, but part of it, you have to know yourself. So when you figure out what you want to be or what you're really good at, there are 3 categories. You can either be a writer, you can be a speaker, or you can be a movie star. We're going to start with the writer. Now, I am a huge fan of writing. We write all the time. It's something that is very cathartic for me. It's something I enjoy. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm great at it. But for instance, in the cons section here, my grammar is not great. But my tone is good. It's in my voice. It's very easy to get through compliance. You can do it anywhere, right? I mean, you can be sitting on the beach, hanging out with your family, and you get an amazing idea, and you go ahead and just, pick up your phone and talk into your phone nowadays, by the way, if you haven't done that, and it'll do everything. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything unless it's minutes on your phone, which who has those anymore? And search engine optimization absolutely loves what we refer to as long form text or long form blog posts, because it's very easy for the algorithms and for the programs to distribute written content. It takes a lot less bandwidth, but it's not as easy for people to consume. There are certain people who hate reading. And that's why you have to figure out of these 3 categories, which one you should be and which one you want to be and which one you really need to run away from. So that's the whole idea of being a writer. There are some great programs out there. If you are a writer, I'm a huge fan of a program called Grammarly. I'm sure you've seen advertisements for it everywhere. Grammarly is a very, very inexpensive program, if not free, and it checks grammar in real time. There's another website that I use a whole bunch called Fiverr, Fiverr. And Fiverr used to be everything was $5, but you can ship out your text to somebody who is an English major, journalism major, English teacher, all sorts of wonderful things, and they will correct your grammar and even help you with your tone. And it can be under $5 to $10. So it might not be free, but it's a great tool. We've used Fiverr. I've used Fiverr in my coaching business, and now we use it every once in a while in our marketing business, just because it's great to be able to outsource some stuff if we get a little heavy. Next one is Speaker. Now, this is where most of you are going to lie, because you talk all day long. It's either on the phone, it's in client reviews, it's to your team. This is where most of your sweet spots are. And this is one of the reasons why we built our podcasting and social program, because this is the best possible way for many of you to communicate not just what you believe, but get people to know who you are. Because they get to feel you. They get to feel your energy and hear your voice and hear your cadence and your pauses and maybe even accents. I was interviewing a gentleman earlier today who's from Georgia, South Georgia, and he says, "Matt, I sound too Southern." I was like, "You're from South Georgia. If you sounded weird on the podcast because you're trying to muffle your accent, when people meet with you in person and realize that you have a real Southern draw, they're going to think that you're weird." So it's very easy to be very genuine in this medium. I've always said I have a face for radio. So movie star is not the direction that I go. This is the medium that I'm most comfortable in, which is one of the reasons why we created a podcasting company. It is not a crowded marketplace. There are very, very, very few people in financial services, including agents. And if you are an insurance agent specifically, and you don't necessarily do AUM, you have to consider doing this, because there are maybe 10 agents in the United States who are doing podcasts, and I've got 4 of them. So you should consider it. It's an enormous amount of fun, and it gives you a platform to become that expert. And it's also a magnificent format for you to bring on other experts. One of our clients out in San Diego brings on estate planning attorneys and accountants, and he brings on therapists and other successful people, real estate agents, and interviews them about the financial ramifications of different things. And what happens is that all of those centers of influence share your podcast with everybody else. Now, there are some issues with podcasting. There are a couple of broker dealers who will not let you podcast. As of right now, we only know that there's 2 of them that are avidly against it. Ameriprise and Raymond James both seem quite grumpy with it. We're kind of sure why, but that's really not necessary to get into. There is a little bit of cost. You should buy some good equipment, much like the equipment that I'm talking to you right now. I'm using my podcasting platform for this webinar right now, just because I'm very comfortable with it. But I've got a microphone and a mixer. You should have a dedicated computer. So if you have an extra laptop laying around, you can just use that. But I think all in, if you go middle of the road, you can be about $150 in equipment. And then there's some technical stuff that you would need to know, which, by the way, if you go to topadvisormarketing.com, we have a great white paper on how to start your own financial podcast. And it walks you through not only how to do it, but all of the equipment. And we outsource all of the editing for our stuff, but you can learn how to do it yourself. And search engine optimization is interesting because it all has to do with different tags that you have, hashtags, and how you're going to categorize all of the information. But again, our paper talks about that extensively. Now, finally, are you a movie star? I have some clients who are excellent on video, who not only carry themselves so well, but they have purchased the right equipment. And it is really important to have perfect lighting when you are doing video. That is going to be your biggest expense. You can use your phone, by the way, because your phone has a 1080p camera in it, and it will take care of all of it for you with absolutely no problem. Really, really, really high quality audio on those phones too. So you don't have to buy a DSLR camera or anything. You can just use your phone. Social media loves video. Social media loves video. We know that videos get 10 times the clicks a podcast or a long form post will. It's very easy to share. There's wonderful platforms to share it, but editing, compliance, and cost can break the bank. And I'm just going to touch on editing as one of the things that'll break the bank, because for every minute of video, you're looking at about an hour, if it's done well, of editing time. And each editor is going to charge anywhere from $75 to $500 a minute to edit your podcast. Now, that might seem like a lot, and I'll tell you it is. But if you don't get it edited well, then you're toast. You also need to have a great personality. When I did this, I did a presentation much like this a while ago, and I had permission from an old friend of mine who is no longer a financial advisor, and I would show his video, and it was the most boring, horrible video. You could tell it was green screened. He has no personality whatsoever. I don't think he didn't blink the entire time, so he kind of looked like a robot. It was a little scary. And it's a very, very difficult market to break into. So he wasn't ever able to break into the market. The video was up for a short period of time. He realized it was terrible and he took it down, but it cost him $7,500 for the video to be, and I'm air quoting here, professionally shot. So I want you, and this is a poll again, I want you to think about who you want to be. So you want to bring that up?
Guess what time it is?
Yep. Let's talk about it. Are you a writer, a speaker, or a movie star? Which one do you think best suits you? How are we doing on those responses?
We got some people who are wondering if it's anonymous, and it is. It's okay. We're not going to identify whether you think you're a movie star or right. That's okay.
I hope we have some movie stars. That would be great.
Me too.
I would like to meet them.
All right. Well, thank you guys. We got over those inhibitions, and so here you go.
Oh. Wow.
Speakers, okay. as we expected, but big time, and then split between the other two. What do you think?
I'm pretty taken aback by that. I think a lot of people could very well think that they're really good writers. I would challenge that. I've seen a lot of people who love to write, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're good at it. But that's really neither here nor there, for my opinion. I don't know any of you, but I definitely think that 40% in the middle. I'm not asking if you are able to speak in front of a group of people, because right now I'm speaking to 30 plus people on a microphone in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I don't see any of you. This is the medium that we have found is very successful. Now, for those of you who are movie stars, rock on, go for it, have fun. Get that video out there. Just be prepared that it's very difficult to edit if there's a compliance thing. If you say something you're not supposed to, it gets real choppy. And find a really good editor if you possibly can. And I would highly recommend that you get it professionally shot. If you're going to be a writer, write every day. Write every day. So you speak every day, and generally you're in front of people every day, but you don't write every day. So make sure you practice that. So fantastic. That is a great, great poll. Now, next up, we've got social media. So many of you had said that you're using email, you're using phone, but not very many people said that you're on social media. And we really know why. And most of the reason is because you're afraid of social media for very good reasons. One, you're afraid that something's going to go viral. I totally understand that. Number two, you're afraid of compliance. I totally understand that. But number three, and this is what we hear all the time, is what the heck am I going to say all the time? That's where our service really comes into play. That's where, if you read that, the podcasting paper that we have, the white paper, and Jack, you know what? I'll make sure I get you a link to that for that email later, if you don't mind. I should have gotten that to you before. I apologize. But if you do that, if you use your social, or if you use the podcasting, your own podcast, you will find that you are going to hone your talking points to the point where you can have very good content on a regular basis. If you don't, 1 out of every 8 minutes that's spent online is spent on Facebook, people. If you're not there, and if you're not there regularly, you don't exist to a lot of people. If you're a total B2B, if you work with business owners, if you work with a very specific professional niche, guess what? If you're not on LinkedIn and your LinkedIn profile doesn't scream that, and you're not posting things on there regularly about that niche, you don't exist. We have just started working with Instagram and Pinterest with a couple of our advisors, and they are killing it. Their focus is widowed and divorced women. That's their niche in a very specific demographic, and they are just blowing it up because there aren't any advisors there. Jack and I were talking about the Wild Wild West a little earlier in reference to IMOs and FMOs, but really this is still the Wild West for advisors, but it's not as scary because every one of you has compliance overlays for this. And if you're using a trusted company to help distribute your information, you don't have to worry about this. My team specifically writes anywhere from 500 to 1,000 social media posts every single solitary month. And we maybe get 4 or 5 back from compliance saying that we need to change something. You have to exist here. You have to embrace this. This is the way the new world communicates. And if you want to address high net worth people between the ages of 35 and 45, which are about to get into peak earning years, which are ideal clients who are going to consistently need your services for a long time and increase the value of your business if you ever plan on selling, you have to exist here. And we know that people who earn in that age, that demographic, 35 to 45-year-old, the people who make over $100,000 a year consume up to 6 podcasts a day. So if you don't exist in this space, you're going to need to. It's vital and very, very important. Now, here's the $10,000 prospecting idea. And then I'm going to be wrapping up here, Jack. So if you're not using Google Alerts, dear God, please use them. They are free. All you have to do is type in Google Alerts into a Google search, and you will find out how to set these up directly. I want you to find the ideal client, your hot 100, top 10, top 5, top 1 person who is the client that you have been chasing after for a really long time, or is a person who doesn't know you from Adam, but you want to build a relationship with. You need to put them into Google Alerts. Make sure that you're specific with your Google Alert. And when that Google Alert goes off, because here's how it works, it will email you immediately, or you can do it as a weekly summary. I have it set to immediately. When they show up in any part of the internet, except for like social specifically, but if they're featured on the news, the local news and the local newspapers, if somebody blogs about them, guess what? You get a Google Alert. How awesome is it for you to call the wealthiest couple in your area and say, hey, you know what? I was doing some research on some people around here who I thought I could maybe potentially help later down the road, but somebody I'd like to build a relationship with. And guess what? I just found out that your grandson just competed with my grandson in the state swimming championships. And I just wanted to say congratulations because your grandson beat the pants off mine. Now, some people might be saying, wow, that's really creepy. It isn't anymore, especially if you know how to handle it on the front end. Google Alerts are the key. Here's the other thing. If you have your top 25 clients, which everybody should know who those top 25 are off the top of their head, every one of those people need to be in Google Alerts too. Because how awesome is this? You get a Google Alert because, again, let's say it's a state swim meet and their grandchild or granddaughter just won some sort of state championship, and you call that client up, which is what we recommend that you do, and you say, Julie, it's Matt. I just heard your granddaughter won the state championships. Congratulations. That's all I wanted to say. Just, wanted to tell you congratulations, have a great day, so on and so forth. And then, you hang up or you've left a message. Could you imagine if Julie was sitting across from a really good friend of hers? Because she's going to pick up the phone because you're her financial advisor, right? Why in the heck is my financial advisor calling me? And that's what you say to him. And then she hangs up the phone and they're like, well, who was that congratulating you? Oh, that was my financial advisor. Well, my financial advisor has no idea what my family's doing. Well, that's the difference between my financial advisor and your financial advisor. Google Alerts, it's flipping free. I have used this as a prospecting tool myself for many, many years. And I can tell you that personally, I brought in about $40,000 worth of business from using just Google Alerts on financial services professionals just like you. So I know it works. It's super free. It's super easy. And I highly recommend that you do it. And with that, Jack, did we have any other questions that we need to address that came through?
Matt, you did a thorough job with these guys.
Okay.
I think they're good for right now. I'm sure
All right, well, I'm just
more
going to
will
go over
pop
this
up.
last slide real quick, and then any final parting thoughts from you, and then we'll wrap up today. But we really do appreciate Jack and his whole team. This is a great opportunity for us to get our thought leadership out and to provide hopefully some very good content and actionable content for each of you. If you do mention this podcast by emailing me, and you do decide to sign up for our social media and our podcasting service, we will take off $250 off that setup fee. And I will also do a free 30-minute consultation with anybody here who wants to talk a little bit more about who we are, what we do, and what we can do for you. And I'm just going to take 2 seconds to tell you what that package is. So what that is that's 2 podcasts a month that we syndicate over 10 different podcast channels. And then we turn those 2 podcasts a month into over 100 social media posts, and we post them for you. We do it in a way that's very compliance friendly. It's a magnificent program. We're really ramping it up. Just hired another person because we've got so many advisors who are taking advantage of it. I'd love to have the opportunity to help some more people that have relationship with Jack and his team. So Jack, that's all I've got for you today.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And so I just want to give you a quick 2-minute elevator talk on why, as you leave this webinar today, you should make time to talk with one of our advisor development consultants. So let me ask you a question. Are you an accidental business owner? Are you someone an advisor who owns a business, or are you a business owner who is an advisor? Most of the folks that we surveyed this spring are accidental business owners. And so what's interesting about that question is the follow-up. Is your business part of your retirement plan? And 83% of you said, yes, I'm counting on the value of my business to help me during retirement. And just to expose the next step in this, 65% of folks in the follow-up question said they had not started succession planning. And so there's a little bit of a gap there between where we are today in our businesses as good advisors who happen to own a business and where we want to be in the future, and that is the ability to turn our business into a retirement plan or legacy asset. And so that's where we can step in and help you. We are in the business of adding value and balance to an advisor's life's work. That's what we call driving business alpha, and that's the heart of what we do. And the way we go about that is through a proprietary process we call value engineering. So we actually create a blueprint that shows you how to optimize your value. And the research is just crystal clear that advisors who are working through our process and partner with us in the development and implementation of a blueprint do earn more revenue relative to their peers. So our top advisor last year started through this process late in the year, and he volunteered that this is just simply great business planning. He talked about a lot of the folks he's met over the last 20 years and how InsureMark is really in a different league compared to them because of this. So just like your relationship with a client starts with the discovery, so does the value engineering process. And we're going to do a deep dive into your business so we really understand how it ticks and what's working for you and what's not. And after we get through this process, there's a very specific action plan that we call the value engineering blueprint that you're going to take away. And it's going to assign tasks that you're going to need to do, some tasks that we're going to help you with, a lot of tasks that we're going to outsource to some of the best of breed resources that we put together for you. So that's how the business alpha value engineering blueprinting all ties together. It's working for top advisors across the country. It can work for you. All you need to do is give us a ring at 800-752-0207. With that, having said that, we'll see you next month. We're going to have Peter Montoya talk to us about the digital marketing revolution, and it'll be another great Business Alpha webinar. Matt, thank you very much for joining us today. Thanks all of you for jumping on in the midst of your spring break. We appreciate the investment of your time and resources, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you all very much, and have a great day.